ShinRobjira.
Orthodontist Shin Godzilla over here will be standing at over 6 inches tall. Orthopedic Shinagawa-kun will be standing at under 5 inches tall, or just at 5 inches tall if you count his dorsal fins. And we got Vince Chlortho Kamada-kun over here who will be standing at over 3 inches tall counting the dorsal fins. Articulation first? Thigh swivular, knee swivular, thigh swivular. Oh, Shin-Godzilla. Nope. Nah, not even close. Managot, an esteemed privilege. Nope. And that's it. Solid star. Yes, you guessed it, it's a paint and detail gush fest. Starting with Kamada-kun, we're going to have this gray paint just smudged at the base of the tail as they leave the rest of it completely blank. And it was in the promo photos, doesn't mean I have to like it, but I'm not surprised. Moving into the dorsal fins over here, if you can even call them that, we're going to get this messy display of gray on gray. Dark gray on the opaque gray, and whatever the heck is going on here. I really can't tell what that is, or what that is, or what that smudge is. This is supposed to be a Bandai Premium exclusive, a limited release. Back into paint overall though, look what we got going on here. The way that the paint is applied on Kamada-kun's thigh over here really brings forth all of those little details. Granted, details are very much visible on this figure. This figure's good for that. But having this over here makes me wish it was on more parts of the figure. And as you can see, it technically is. Oh man, I love how that looks. Oh geez. It really gives off a frozen Kamada-kun vibe to it. And I especially love how it brings forth the detailings of the arms on the side. Them little chicken nugget arms are still a-growing, and I love that you can actually see them in high definition these days. Granted, they were very much visible on the original standard release, but I'm a gentleman who loves his detailings. Now, looking at the arm over here, it looks like it wasn't fully painted. Meanwhile, on the opposing side, it definitely looks a bit more painted. But I do so wonder if the majority of the figure underneath this lighter gray is actually just a darker gray that they eventually just painted with darker gray on top of the lighter gray. Be that the case, it makes some of these discolored scratches make a bit more sense, I think. 'Tis unfortunate, Kamada-kun's got a bunch of blemishes on him, but let's continue. Back to the sides, fronts, and everything of his torso. I love the way this looks, and I do wish the entire figure looked like this. The two-toned nature going on here does look cool. I just wish there was a bit more controlled chaos to it. I find it quite interesting that both the Minus color set and now the Orthochromatic set bring forth cool paint application ideas, but I don't think they really stick the landing. Kamada-kun's gills over here are going to have a darker tone of gray on the inside and edges of them, and yeah, that's pretty cool. Moving into Kamada-kun's face, we can see a very silver-looking eye with a gray pupil and a mostly gray mouth, all gray mouth, and the teeth. Well, they have some outlining. Can't tell you if that's intentional or not, but it's there. And then you look at the area around the eyes on both sides, and yeah, I really don't know. Oh man, look at that. Underside of the neck is going to see that same kind of painting that the chest area did, or torso overall, and again, I think the figure would have looked a lot cooler like this. Kamada-kun's toenails are going to be all done up, and that's essentially where the paint is going to end, and we're back at square one. Detailing, even if this thing was coated with a whole bunch of thick and marooning paint, I'm surprised it's still very much visible, and I do have to give detailing a solid star. Because going into this set, I knew at least that was going to be done some justice, but Kamada-kun thus far is probably, the worst contender for paint. I love this, and I love that. This is a bit messy, and I do enjoy the overall, idea of what they were doing here, but once again, I don't feel Bandai initially stuck the landing with Kamada-kun over here, so paint is going to get a half a star. Stains and scratches of some kind. Bandai did my beloved #1 pupper a bit on the dirty side. But let's move on to Shinagawa-kun. Just like Kamada-kun, but not fully, Shinagawa-kun's paint is initially going to stop at the base of the tail over here, but it kind of continues on along the side, highlighting the details over here. On both sides, and this looks, almost like, an educated try of a brush stroke. Granted, so does this side, but this side is done in such a way where you can't actually see the stroke. Meanwhile, over here, you really could. We'll get a little bit of paint up top over here. Nothing at the tip of the tail with the rotted out hot dog Siamese twin. I don't think the detail suffered too much. But moving into these dorsal fins once again, we've got a darker tone on the gray with a very matte black finish for the overall figure. And despite looking goopy and globbed on, I do very much enjoy this more than Kamada-kun. Granted, Kamada-kun was the bright and shining good boy, and Shinagawa-kun is the bloody good boy. He's having a hard time. It's just, I guess, since the gray is a bit duller, it comes off as less messy looking. Maybe? Kinda. Moving into the gills over here, each part of the gill is going to be separated with a streak of lighter gray paint on both sides. And now we're going to switch it on over to the thighs over here because the thighs are going to have more of that lighter toned gray. I do think it's a bit brighter in comparison to the dorsal fins though. What's that one thing people have? Fear of holes, tryptophobia or something like that? Yeah, I'm sorry, but you're gonna get a little bit of that over here. Not so much over here, but the gray definitely feels a lot less mess and more so controlled on the thighs. We'll get some light gray paint on the toenails over here, but nothing on the shins, knees, or ankles. Moving on into the crotchal region, into the torso once again, we're going to be outfitted with a different color of gray, bringing forth all of the detailings. And just like with Kamada-kun, I love that they accentuate on the detailings of his arms not being fully separated just yet, at least on the figure. Pretty sure they were separated in the movie. This, I think, looks just fine. It's nowhere near as offensive as other areas, and it's cool to see that it continues into the crest neck portion over here. Unlike Kamada-kun though, we're not going to get any paint on the underside of the neck. I imagine most of that just went to the gills, but then again, Kamada-kun's gills and underside of neck were painted. Did that not fit your categorum, Bandai? Look at this goofy little newt looking guy. Bright gray eyes, dark gray pupils, white teeth, nothing in the mouth, no scratches or massive blemishes, although this eye's looking a little on the flaky side. I can't complain. I'm having a good time here. Good lord, I didn't even notice that the opposite side of the dorsal fins were painted or lazily globbed onto. Look at that. Okay, alright. Good old bloody turkey Shinagawa-kun will get a solid star in terms of detailing and a solid star in terms of paint. Not nearly as off as Kamada-kun, I think. And even though I would definitely consider Kamada-kun the weakest thus far, I do, however, very much like how the two clash against one another. Granted, they always did. Kamada-kun was this off pustule infection looking liquid color, while Shinagawa-kun was just red. So all this together, it just fits. I dig it. I like it. Let's take a look at Shin Godzilla. There he is. There's my good boy. Let's bring him on. Oh my god. Holy shizno. It finally happened, friends and neighbors. I finally got a factory error movie monster series figure. That is crazy. 2 left arms. I can't believe it's real. Mind you, when this thing was in the bag, I thought they had sculpted the hands upward, something that wasn't shown off in the promo photos, but getting a better look at him, I could tell. Oh god. Shin Goji is going to have these tiny whited dots on his tail to about right here. Then it is jet black until we get to the tip of the tail. This is a very light gray. Initially I thought it was white paint, and you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe the white paint just didn't dry bright enough. I don't know. But at the very tip of the tail, we can see the eye socket and the teeth. It's quite cool. It's kind of reminding me of the NECA Atomic Blast Shin Godzilla. But I do very much enjoy how the paint brings forth all of these crazy details up here, and it's not nearly as offensive as getting 2 left arms. Now, moving down from the tip of the tail, throughout the tail, into his dorsal fins, the brightest coat of light gray or white, but isn't that what dark white is? Just gray, and then light gray is just white? I'm talking myself into a circle unnecessarily. It's lovely. It's nice. It feels the least amount lazy in comparison to the others, especially since there's absolutely no white paint on his back whatsoever, just on the dorsal fins. And this one definitely feels like the one that got the most attention. You can see brush strokes, you can see tiny little dottings and how it's just coating over the detail and sticking. It looks great. Kind of looks like charred frosted mini wheats, where the mini wheats are charred but the frosting isn't somehow. I'm really digging it. And that's going to follow through all the way to the dorsal fins, even on Shin Godzilla's head. Taking a look at the eye, it's going to be stark white. You can actually see the pupil raised up. Nice little detail that I've always liked about the movie monster series Shin Godzillas and always wondered why they never painted. We've got white teeth and we've got white in the gill vent area. Here is where the figure kind of gets a bit on the dirtier side, but I'm having a hard time hating it, I guess? Could this have been done better? Yeah, more than likely, for sure. I don't know how to really describe it, but nothing beats the chest. Which, yes, of course, it's, not the best, and maybe a bit on the laziest side of this figure's, painted on offerings. I don't know, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite. Not like that's anything new. But where I'd put this on par with Kamada-kun's dorsal fins and Shinagawa-kun's dorsal fins, here, I just kinda like it. Yes, it's messy, but I don't know. ShinRobjira here. The only part that I can honestly say I'm pretty bummed with is going to be the thighs. The paint on the thighs in the promos appeared to come off a bit brighter here. It's definitely a bit more muted to a point where you can kind of see it. But, you know, getting it nice and close, you can obviously see it. I do wish they went with the white paint entirely over here. You can actually see a little bit of it over here. And yeah, it's all right. It does bring forth the details, and it does look good up close. From further away, though, it almost looks like it doesn't exist. Almost. On Shin's shins over here, we're going to see a bit more of that paint. Okay, it's not just a fluke, it's over here too. Oh yeah, on both sides, look at that. Shin Godzilla's toes will be painted a nice light gray. On both sides, none of his extra toes were painted. And much to probably nobody's surprise, this is my favorite figure of the set. I'm gonna award him a solid star in terms of detailing. I don't want to give him a half a star in terms of paint because his dorsal fins are easily the best out of the set. The tip of his tail looks fantastic. The chest is a bit messy. The thighs kind of threw me off just a bit. Honestly, after minus color, I guess I really shouldn't have been expecting the world of these, but I definitely wasn't expecting to get a factory error and one messy #1 pupper. So what was it? A solid star in terms of details and paint? Yeah, I guess a solid star. I have no idea. I'm so conflicted on this set. Let's cut away to some size comps in the boxes and we'll return back here for another comparison. Shokugan, Movie, King, HG, Finger Paperinos, SHMA. And here's the cardboard box with literally nothing on it except for the fronty. And here's the super cool box that unfortunately has a ding on the back of it because of how it was packaged. Not everything of this set is of the perfects of quality. Alright, we're back. Now, Minus Goji versus Shin Goji. I'm a Shin Godzilla stan through and through, but I am not going to deny here, Minus Goji kind of takes the cake. Granted, I knew from the photos that I was getting a mostly unpainted black and white Shin Godzilla and a very much detailed Minus Goji. Just in comparison to one another, my bias is completely obliterated because Minus Goji looks so much better. For one thing, it's all the same gray, save for his eyes. And while I don't mind Ortho Shin Godzilla at all, he's definitely not going to be my favorite variant, even though factory error, I'm so happy. I don't know, between these two, I think Minus Goji takes it on home. Now, as far as comparing Odo Goji to Kamada-kun, I really can't because Kamada-kun's a completely different color with completely different highlights. So it's a Shinagawa-kun versus Odo Island Goji game that we're going on here. And yes, the highlights on Shinagawa-kun can actually be seen from a distance and enjoyed, but when looking at either figure up close, the better looking one is Odo Island Goji, even though he looks so dweeby. But I pitched a tent about Odo Goji and him not appearing as brightly as he did in the promo photos, especially on his forearms. And unfortunately, I didn't temper my expectations as I should have for the Orthochromatic set. I might have to give this one to Shinagawa-kun. I mean, before I edit the footage up, I can clearly see Shinagawa-kun's paint applications from afar versus Odo Goji's minus his eyes. Brightening up the footage, though, it's definitely a lot more obvious. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm having a change of heart. I might have to give it to Odo Goji. Ultimately, though, I can say both sets have their ups and their downs, and neither really met a major expectation. And that's mostly my fault. Yes, the minus color set is going to win my favor this time, but the minus color set also doesn't have my very first factory error Movie Monster series figure. Yeah, I really am like totally jazzed up about this. This is crazy. I've never seen a factory error Movie Monster series figure in my life. But if you have, please comment down below and let me know. I've been ShinRobjira. I do so hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next week for the finale of Godzilla 2014-a-thon and probably a review of the 2024 reissue of the 2022 new mold of Hedorah 1971. God, this review was confusing.